Well, it's that time of year again. It's time to be afraid. Be very afraid. The Decepticons are on the march, and they are coming to take over Earth and turn us all into, one big machine planet. I'm sorry. I got my cartoonish media narrative slightly off. We're supposed to be afraid of not the Decepticons, not that Omicron. We're supposed to be afraid of Omicron, the new Wu Flu variant, which of course is so much scarier than the last. Each variant is so much worse, as we all know. More and more people die every day, and they're dying harder than the people who died the day before them. That is, unless they're vaccinated, in which case they still die, but they don't die in as bad of a way as they could have. I mean, sure, either way they're dead, but those who are unvaccinated are more dead. And so now that Omicron has been unleashed by Megatron and sent on a suicide mission to planet Earth, we can't just sit around and wait for Optimus Prime. We have to be good little Earthlings and take our jabs. That's the message that our dear leader, Joseph Robinette Biden, had today. It's funny the things that Joe Biden is compelled, by his staff to come out and actually give a speech about, and the things that he is not. It was crickets on the Waukesha massacre, which clearly was an example of BLM terrorism. Biden and Harris and their whole campaign had a lot to say about BLM last year during all the riots. They were all very supportive, of course, of St. George Floyd, and they bailed out rioters from jail who were arrested by the fascist pigs known as the Minneapolis Police Department. But when one brave black soul stands up for his community and does his part to end whiteness by ending the lives of, so far, 7 white folks in lily white Waukesha, Wisconsin, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris said they're crickets. They should be out there. They should have been giving speeches talking about how wonderful this guy was. Joe Biden should have granted him a full pardon and said, no, this guy, he was fighting to end racism. As we can see from his Facebook posts, that was his goal. And the day in which the Waukesha massacre took place should be a national holiday, National Darrell Brooks Appreciation Day. Yet for some reason, Joe Biden is not talking about it. He also has not condemned anything that Darrell Brooks did. So I would tend to think that he doesn't have a problem with what old Brooks did. I guarantee you, if Darrell Brooks, as I said last week, was a white man and he drove through a black Christmas parade, you're damn right, old Joe Biden would be very upset about it and would have been all over TV. And so the fact that he was not on TV talking about this is a sure sign that he approves of this. So if he approves of it, why is he not out there praising this man for his bravery and for his service to the black community? But moving on from that, Joe Biden did, as I said, decide to come out today and talk about the Omicron scariant, as Ken McElroy calls it. I much prefer the term scariant to variant. It's easier, rolls off the tongue well, and also I don't have to use the word scary separately. We just combine scary and variant, and we have scariant. It's very convenient. I was listening to Alex Berenson earlier, who's a great guy. You all should be subscribed to his Substack if you're not already. It's really a great source if you want to stay on top of what all the latest Wu Flu data is around the world. His take on the whirlwind hysteria surrounding the announcement of the Omicron scariant, I think is pretty spot on. He sees it as a response to the waning interest in first doses of vaccination and boosters. People don't seem too eager to go out and get more jabs, it turns out. All these people who were lied to and told, hey, if you just get your 2 shots, we can all go back to normal and we'll all forget about this because vaccines are safe and effective. Now they're being told, well, actually, the vaccine isn't very effective at all. You have to go and get a 3rd shot, and in a couple months you'll need a 4th shot, and after that you'll need a 5th shot. It turns out people are not too eager about that. They say, you know what, screw this. I went and I got my shots, and now it's down to like I think in the case of Johnson & Johnson, it's down to like 20% effectiveness, they estimate, which is, for those of you following along at home, 20%. Those aren't great odds, especially when you consider the potentiality for side effects that can be caused by these vaccines. You know, if you're getting the risk, however small, of these of side effects from these vaccines, yet you're getting very little added immunity to your to your body from this virus. It doesn't seem like a great trade-off, I'll be honest. So how do you get more people into Publix and Walgreens getting their shots? Well, you tell them, you know what? Now the virus, you know that virus that you said, you know what, I think I'm comfortable with this now. I think I want to go back to living my life. I don't think I'm going to get my booster shot. I don't think I'm going to get the vaccine at all. It doesn't seem to be doing a whole lot of good, risk-reward-wise. Well, guess what? The risk just got 10 times higher. And so even if you think that the reward is not that great, or I shouldn't say that, what am I saying? The risk of the virus just got 10 times greater. So even if you think that there's a undue risk associated with taking the vaccine, or that it's just, a wash, it's not really worth it at all, well, you better go get it, because you're going to be really, really dead this time. Now, the nature of a virus is that it does evolve, it does mutate. It's not going to remain identical, and exactly the same forever. This is how the cold works. It's how the flu works. It evolves, it changes, it varies. And so now every time that they discover a new variation of this virus, from now till the end of time, they're going to try and come out and say, oh, this is real scary. We discovered a new variant. Everybody hide under your desks and wait for the nuclear fallout to rain down. But I predict that this is going to have diminishing returns. A lot less people were, of course, freaked out by Delta hysteria when they first, brought that out than were scared by the initial virus. And a lot less people will buy into the Omicron hysteria than bought into the Delta hysteria. Because you can only fool people so many times before, people start to wake up and realize, you know what, I don't like being made a fool of. Now, there's some people who won't get it. That's true. Some people who will buy into this. The most loyal viewers of broadcast media, they're going to buy into this. But majority of America at this point, they're not going to go along with it. They're going to say, you know what? No. You had my attention. You had my trust. You betrayed it. And I don't trust you now. If you look at Fauci when he's on TV this weekend, what audience is he speaking to? Is he speaking to, broad audience of Americans in general? No, he's talking about, January 6th insurrection is the real crime. You shouldn't look at me creating this virus in a lab, or me funding gain of function research which may have led to the creation of this virus. Don't look at that. The real crime is the insurrection, the attack on our democracy. Anthony Fauci is embracing his role in America as a Blue Anon shaman. He is the Pope of science. Actually, to more accurately, according to him, he is the science. He is Louis XIV. He is Chancellor Palpatine. And I think he 100% accepts he will never have mass appeal again. But he's going to have a very loyal base of constituents who view him as a demigod. And that's all he needs in order to maintain his power in this society, because he has an immense amount of power. Even though he has no power over the vast majority of Americans, he has an immense amount of power and influence over the minority of people who take him seriously and look at him and say, that guy, he is the science. So the best thing we can do to resist this hysteria is to ignore it, pretend it doesn't exist, and if people really do bring it up, you should do enough research. You don't have to become a super mega expert on this stuff, because the people who you would be dealing with who would give you pushback are so unintelligent and uninformed themselves that you don't have to know a whole lot in order to best them in a debate, although I don't recommend debating them. And so, to be honest, just reading Alex Berenson's Substack will arm you with more than enough information that you need in order to stand up for, team reality and to smack these people down if they are at all open to reason. And, if they're not, like I said, I don't get into this stuff with people. It's not worth it. The people who still buy into this nonsense want to buy into it. And so you're not going to tell them anything to change their mind, because they enjoy the theater. They like this feeling of being afraid. Some people just have that kind of a personality. Personally, I think it is a mental disorder that is being exploited by the authorities. But treating that kind of a problem is well above my pay grade. And so I think what needs to happen with these people is they need, those of us who live in reality, who live in Realville, will go on with our lives, ignoring this nonsense on TV, not watching ABC, NBC, CBS, or CNN. And the people who are afraid can wallow in their fear, all alone. They can sit in their houses. They can go to Walmart, because, of course, it's safe at Walmart with their masks on and their gloves and their sunglasses, and not make eye contact with anyone. And they can go home and they can, eat their heavily processed vegan frozen TV dinner. And they can choose to either do that for the rest of their lives, or at some point they will hit a limit and say, you know what, this is just silly. I'm going to go back and live in the real world with everyone else. That's all you can do. You can't force these people. Just like they couldn't force you to be afraid as much as they would like to do that, we can't force them to drop their irrational fears. At this point, life where I live has been completely 100% normal for a year and a half, since summer of 2020. Whatever restrictions and things, social distancing and all that pretty much went away by that point. So it's been a long time since I've had to deal with this stuff. You do occasionally see people out there with their mask or whatever, and they're not a bother or anything. They they make their own decision. And that's fine, because as much as the mask doesn't help them, it's not hurting me either. And if that's all they do, I don't care. It's not like they're yelling at me to put my mask on, because there's such an overwhelmingly small minority of people that they don't have that kind of power. We don't have vaccine passports here. There aren't people walking around, demanding to see my papers. People who want to get their shot, go and get their shot. People who don't want to go and get their shot, don't get their shot. And so as far as all this stuff is concerned, my life has been peaceful. And that's not going to change. Nothing like what happened in spring of 2020 is going to happen where I live again. And again, very little happened here, but there was that short period where we did have that, that very real fear amongst a lot of people. And certainly, again, early on, when it was politically incorrect to talk about the virus, I was very concerned about it, because we didn't have any good data on it. We didn't know how bad or how, not bad this was. And thankfully, it turned out to be not that bad. And so we can all move on with our lives. We've been able to do that for a very long time. And we can't keep giving so much attention to these people who want to drive us crazy. Because, at the end of the day, people like Biden, like Tony Fauci, And like all the rest, they benefit from us being afraid. They want us to be afraid because it helps them politically. And I'm not going to give in to it. I don't want to give them attention. And so I don't anticipate I'll be talking too much about the Omicron variant, although I guess the jabs, I haven't talked about that yet. The drug companies, Big Pharma, I was just reading, Charlie Gasparino's got some intel. Of course, he's a Wall Street reporter. He's got big financial ties and all that. He's got his sources saying that Big Pharma is ready to jump headfirst into creating their new Omicron vaccine. And so yes, Big Pharma wants to use this hysteria to sell more jabs. But I don't think it's going to work. This is a Hail Mary. The vaccine mandate is spiraling. Biden keeps having to push it back. And when I say Biden, I mean, Biden is a composite of many people. I don't literally mean him, but I mean the administration. They're losing in court on the mandate. It's not going well for them. I don't know how many of you are following that. I haven't had time to follow it very closely, but I know it's not going well for the administration. They keep having to push back the date. And so I think Berenson is right in that this could just be one last push to try and scare everybody into getting more jabs. But they're not going to be able to keep this up forever. At some point after the 5th or the 6th booster shot, people are going to realize, you know what, this just isn't worth it. So, with that said, I will see you folks back here tomorrow.